Graham Healy speaking, and I'm just going to do an introduction on another project that we're doing, which is the sensory motor reflex tests for the upper body. Now, before we start that, I just want to clarify a little bit from the neuroanatomy book, Clinical Cases by Hal Bloomfield. If we can just show that there, and it'll clarify upper and lower motor neuron responses. And I'll just read from chapter 6.1, just a point of clarity. The useful concept of upper motor neuron versus lower motor neuron lesions is very useful in clinical localization. Upper motor neuron of the cortiospinal tract project from the cerebral cortex to the lower motor neurons located in the anterior horn of the spinal cortex. Lower motor neurons in turn project via the peripheral nerves to the skeletal muscle. An identical concept of upper and lower motor neurons applies to the corticobular tract and cranial nerve motor nuclei. Signs of upper motor neuron lesions include muscle weakness, atrophy, facilitations, decreased tone, and hypoflexia. Hypoflexia rather. Facilitations are abnormal muscle twitches caused by spontaneous activity in groups of muscle cells. Anyway, that goes on to explain a little bit more, but in the table below, table 6.4, in comparing upper motor neuron lesions with lower motor neuron lesions, basically we see that in upper motor neuron lesions, the reflexes and tone of the muscles increased, and the lower motor neuron lesions, it's decreased. So reflexes increase in the upper motor neurons, and tone is increased as well. The tension, the tone. The lower motor neurons are decreased in both reflexes and tone. And I just have highlighted one part here. The reason for this is the inhibitory pathways that travel closely to the cortiospinal tract rather than by damage to the cortiospinal tract itself. So there's inhibitory pathways that cause these deficits in neuro responses. Now, I'll just leave that as that. You can check the textbook. The other textbooks that I'm referring to is Orthopedic Assessment by Dr.Viznaik. I've got permission from Dr.Viznaik actually to use the images of his textbooks as in the presentation. And in that, with the motor tests, the upper motor tests, the deep tendon reflexes, and the dermatonal testing, I'll be referring to these books during the test. Now, just a little bit of background concept that I found difficulty in deciphering between dermatonal distribution and peripheral nerve distribution. So we have that warning, there's a big warning there that they're different distributions. So for the sensory tests, we are looking at dermatonal areas, and the dermatonal areas refer back to nerve roots. So the dermatonal areas refer back to nerve roots, and we'll go through those when we do sharp and soft on the dermatonal areas to detect if there's any sensory deficit. Now, the motor tests are basically the muscle tests, as we do isometric testing with, the biceps, triceps, and the deltoid, etc. And the reflex testing, or the deep tendon reflex testing, again, is with the reflex hammer, tricep, brachioradialis, and bicep, etc. So we'll be demonstrating those in the second part of the video. And just one concept before I finish up, just one concept that I found helped me, it may help you, helped me regarding deciphering between nerve roots, peripheral nerves, and how it all happens. So as we understand that the nerve roots, dermatonal patterns, trace back to the nerve root, the peripheral patterns are a different pattern. They overlap with the dermatonal patterns. And the best way I probably understood that myself, and as I say, I may help others to do that, is that I just imagined the nerve, say the ulnar nerve or the radial nerve or whatever, as a fibre optic cable. So it goes to the roots, nerve roots, and it goes through one big cable, comes out to the peripheral nerves, and it will, depending on what part of that fibre is displaying a dermatonal pattern back to the nerve root, or it may be a peripheral pattern. We'll just focus on the dermatonal patterns, but that concept may help you. Just think of the nerves basically like a fibre optic cable, communicating several things to several places all at the same time. It may have 3 or 4 roots, such as the femoral nerve, or the brachial plexus with all the different nerve roots from C4 through to T1, feeding into the trunks, and then we've got to trace all that back. And then even, your ulnar, medial and radial nerve and your axillary nerve, they then have branches from there. So it all gets a little bit complicated, but I think the simple thing to do is just think of it like a fibre optic cable. Certain fibres of that cable will feed to certain, let's say the dermatonal distribution, and certain fibres of that cable, even though it might have similar roots or the same roots, it'll have a different distribution factor. So the big warning we had in the lectures is do not confuse the peripheral nerves distribution with the dermatonal nerve distribution, even though they overlap. Keep them as separate entities. As far as the sensitivity testing, we stick to the dermatonal patterns, and which will refer back to nerve roots. Okay, that's the introduction, and have a look at those textbooks that I've shown you during this conversation. And the next sector that we'll do is actually the physical demonstration of these particular tests. Sensory, motor or muscle, and deep tendon reflexes. Okay, that's Graham Healy, over and out. Thank you very much. This is my son Alan, and we're going to do sensory testing, we're going to do motor testing, and we're going to do deep tendon reflex for the upper body. Now, first of all, we've got to use some hand sanitizer, as we always do in chiropractic. Okay, now basically what we're going to do is we just ask Alan to turn your hand this way, Alan, and relax it this way. Close your eyes, please. And then what I'm going to do is ask Alan to tell me whether it's sharp or dull. So we've got a sharp or dull. So what we're going to do is we'll go up the dermatonal patterns along his arm up to the shoulder, and I'll just bring that shoulder up here a little bit. Technically, what we're supposed to do is just test near the clavicle there. Is that sharp, Al? Yeah, is that soft? That's the testing point. Okay, away we go. Just close your eyes, please, Al. And as I ask Al, is that sharp? I'm going through the different areas, or soft, Just tell me if that's sharp or soft, Alan. Yep. Sharp, yep. How about that? Sharp? Okay, soft, and likewise. How's that, Al? Sharp? Yep. Sharp? How am I feeling? Soft? This soft? Yep. Here, soft? Sharp? No? Can? Good. Okay, and likewise, we travel up and down the arm in a dermatonal pattern, but you get the general feel of things. Now, what we're going to do is we'll do the muscle testing next. So I'm just going to test Alan's bicep isometrically. So Alan, just resist, yep, isometrically, bicep. Okay, now I'm going to do the tricep, just here. Alan, just push against my hand, here, resist, push. Tricep. Now from here for the shoulder, deltoid. Now resist against my hand, Alan. Push. There. Again, resist. Yep. Tricep. Okay. And relax. That's good. Okay, now for the reflexes, first of all, we're going to have a look at the brachioradialis, and where we're looking is actually in the muscle belly, even though the hand may have a twitch. So first of all, just relax there, Al. I'm going to look at the brachioradialis on the tendon. And as you can see, the reflex was along the brachioradialis there. Now to go to the bicep, I'm going to find the bicep tendon here. Just relax that arm there a little bit, Al. Or actually, I'll put that on my knee there. And we see the movement of the bicep there. Okay. Now, I'm just going to bring the tricep, just relax that arm, Al, like as if you just completely relax into my hand. I'm going to go to the tricep tendon, and you'll see the movement down there, but what I'm looking at is actually the tricep muscle. Do that again, Al. Boom, I'm looking here, again, bang. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, two other muscle tests that I forgot was I'm going to do, Alan, your fingers, just push against here, right? And we're going to pull against here, pull against there. So that's C8, C7. All right, I'll explain that in the rest of the video. Thanks very much for that, Al. Okay, thank you very much.